And that whilst your purpose
that
never
you've signed up to
changes, your
and we share
assignment
together
changes from
is
time
to
time.
be your best in all you do.
And greatness can only be measured by the difference between before you showed up and after you showed up. If I look at the number of people whose lives have been transformed by your voice, that's how we measure your greatness.
My name is Steve Harris, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you just a little bit about perhaps the perspective of, let me call it monetizing your message and how you need to be able to speak for gold. And I think the very first thing you need to do is to be authentic. And I know that that's something that perhaps gets played out, today, but it's incredibly important being authentic. Let me give you a very real example. And all of you who perhaps are thinking about having a career in speaking or oratory or coaching, as the case may be, we're all being influenced, okay? We're all being influenced, and many times who you're exposed to is a reflection of who influences you ultimately. So perhaps as many of you may or may not know, I had the privilege of working with FD intimately for over 5 years, and I've been serving him as a father serves his son for 15. All right. So when I say I'm the firstborn, it is undisputed. All right. So don't even argue. Right. So I've been serving with him for about 15, and I worked with him intimately for about 5 years. FD was literally the first person I met that made me realize that I could make a living, making a difference. I'd heard pastors preach, I'd heard speakers speak, but no one was able to connect with me the way FD did. And from the moment I saw him, it was that thing about, let me use the word, the soul of David being knit with Jonathan or vice versa. And just like Jonathan, FD gave me his armor, he gave me his clothes. FD has literally done those things to me. He's given me his clothes, he's given me shoes, so trust me. So a lot of the grace that I enjoy is the grace that FD has given me as well. And that's a totally different conversation if FD wants to talk about spiritual stuff. But what used to happen, after a while, if you're not careful, just because you've been influenced and you've carried the spirits of the person, if you're not careful, you may begin to model your speaking or your communication by the person that has strongly influenced you. So I mean, I would get FD was always so gracious, and I don't know why he did, but every time he would get an invitation, even if he could go, he would always send me there to represent him. And I always felt it was a huge privilege, it still is, to represent him. And when I'd go, I'd have people say to me, oh, that was amazing. That's amazing. You remind me of someone, right? You remind me of someone. I say, do you know Fela Durotu? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, he's my mentor, he's my dad. I said, yeah, you remind me so much of him. And that's an amazing compliment. It's an amazing compliment, right? But the challenge with that, if you're not careful, is in reminding other people of other people, you begin to lose who you are. So it left me asking the question, so who am I? So if I remind people of FD, which is an amazing compliment, don't get it twisted, it's an amazing, incredible compliment. But then it leaves you saying that if I spent 2 hours speaking and all you could remember was the person who was not here, that means I have not yet been able to identify who I am. So that took me quite a bit of time to begin to say, okay, so really, who am I? And I needed to be able to look at my own DNA. I had to look at my own personal DNA. Let me give you a very clear example. I remember FD, for example, has a covenant with God not to charge churches or religious institutions. And being modeled after him as his son, I wanted to be able to follow in those footsteps. And I would get invitations to speak at churches, and I'd accept them. And I wouldn't charge them. I would expect them to use their church mind, quote unquote. But I started getting upset when, after doing my thing, maybe they would just give me a basket of fruits and vegetables, or that's if I was lucky, or they'll give me like 3K. And I've spoken from morning till night. And I'm saying to myself when I'm driving home, how many bananas am I worth? Because they've given me a bunch of bananas. How many bananas am I worth per hour? Because if I continue like this, man, I'm going to have an orchard. So, I was frustrated. I told God one day, I was like, come on, man, this ain't fair. I mean, I'm trying to do this thing where I don't charge churches, and FD doesn't charge them. And I remember God said to me, FD has a covenant with me concerning this. Did you and I sign any documents? I said, no, sir. He said, that you can't walk in his grace because he's made certain covenants and commitments. And so that freed me. So unlike FD, if FD gets an invitation, FD will go. I am entirely different. So, church wants to invite me, say, oh, man of God, we want you to come. I'll send them to my business manager. I'll send them the bill. I am unrepentant about it. If you don't want to pay me, fine. I'll sit down with my family. I'll be fine. So I've been able to recognize how to be authentic. Another of the things that has also worked for me, and that's why MD said, I'm a little edgy. You know what I mean? And to be honest, listen, I mean, the Steve Harris you see on social media, who is, shattering tables, gun blazing, killing everybody, that's not who I am. That's really not who I am. That is a character that I have created to get the attention of the market. I'm going to say that again. That is a character that I have created to get the attention of the market. So once in a while, you'll probably see me cuss or throw F-bombs. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. But for the purpose of getting the attention of the people who have very short attention spans, I will do certain things because my brand, and I'm sure everybody has talked about this, as a communicator, you're going to evoke several emotions, and you have to determine the emotion you want to evoke, and you've got to be deliberate with it and unapologetic. So, for example, there are 5 different types of emotions that you will generate. Number 1 is an emotion of love. All right. So, for example, FD's signature emotion is love. So everybody's doing things that are altruistic, philanthropic. He's trying to help people. Trust me, this Speak for Gold that you guys are paying this amount of money, you may think it's plenty. It's not so, because FD knows that if you had made the mistake of asking me how much this program should be, you will not be paying the amount of money you'll be paying. True, absolutely not, because I don't. And FD is the Jesus of this game, and we are like John the Baptist or his disciples. So we will not, even we will not accept that money, but that's FD. FD always wants to give way more value than he's ever charging you, all right? So that's FD. So love is a strategy. It works. That's who he is, right? The second emotion is hate, and hate is a strategy, right? So for example, you would see that, let me use Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump may stoke the embers of hate, but it is deliberate, it is intentional. Why? Because where energy goes, momentum will flow, right? Where energy goes, momentum will flow. So Donald Trump is, please write that down, right? Where energy goes, momentum flows, right? So what Donald Trump does is that he enrages, so to speak, he is enraging the market he's not interested in. Now, let me quickly say it this way. Check it out, guys. Manchester United does not market to Arsenal fans. Can I say that again, guys? Right? Manchester United is not trying to sell to Arsenal fans. So they are only speaking to their demographic. They're only speaking to the people they're trying to reach, okay? So hate is a strategy. So when Donald Trump says, we want to make America white again, we want to make America great again, right? The people who hear what he's saying are able to connect with him at that frequency because the sheep hears my voice. Are we together, guys? So if you're promoting an emotion of hate, the people who love you. The people that hate you. All right? It's very intentional. Now, the third and fourth category, all right? The third and fourth category, which is perhaps where I play in the most, is where people will either love to hate you or hate to love you. All right? Where people love to hate you or they hate to love you. So you become very polarizing. Okay? So I fall into this category. So I am generally either polarizing. The people who like me. The people who, people say all sorts of things about me. Why is he cocky? He's arrogant. He's this. He's ruthless. What's he feeling like? Yada, yada, yada. All those things are intentional. So when I tell you that I'm the first coach you should have come to and the last coach you should need, exempting FD, it sounds like an arrogant statement, but that's the emotion that I'm deliberately trying to put out. Still using football as a metaphor. There are many amazing coaches. but there's only one special one, and that's Jose Mourinho. So Jurgen Klopp will get a lot of love. Pep Guardiola will get a lot of love. But Jose is perhaps, apart from Klopp in 2019 or 2020, Jose Mourinho was the most searched out coach in football. Why? Because he's polarizing. It is a strategy. You know what I'm saying? He comes with his drama, he comes with his circus, but guess what? You will always remember him. And that's the thing about somebody says Pep Guardiola is the only coach. Doesn't matter, it's okay, right? That's the thing about being authentic. So I realized, for example, I'm always drawn to people who other people would consider arrogant, right? So Mourinho is my favorite coach. Ronaldo is my favorite player. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is one of my favorite players. Simon Cowell is my favorite, celebrity, as the case may be. So people that tend to polarize or divide opinion, and you're like, this guy, why is he so arrogant? Those are the people that I find myself naturally drawn to. Why? Because I'm the same way. All right. So number 1, love. Number 2, hate. Number 3, love to hate. Number 4, hate to love. And number 5, where many of us fall into, is ignore. Right? So many of us have a brand that people ignore. Are we together so far? So a lot of us are in the category where you're putting content out there. You have one deep rev. You want to share it on Instagram, and then you post it, and then 2 hours later, crickets. Nobody is liking. Nobody is commenting. You thought it would move the needle. It didn't move anything. It was just sitting there flat. You were excited about, deep, this rev, I'm about to drop it. Meanwhile, people don't care. So because I've built this character, that is Steve Harris, that people have an expectation of. So Steve Harris is the one who will say the things. So I've got that Simon Cowell thing, where Simon Cowell is the guy, the judge on Idols or X Factor, who says it as it is. He's the guy who, if 3 judges gave you a yes and Simon gave you a no, you will leave there feeling bad. You will leave there feeling like you failed. Meanwhile, you got 3 yeses, but you're always trying to make sure you impress Simon. I'm Simon, right? Simon is the guy who is telling you that you have no business being a singer. Other people are like, no, you tried, maybe Simon's like, no. Do you have a music coach? Yes, fire him, sue him. You have no business being in music. That's exactly how I am, all right? So that's very important. So you have to be authentic. Now let me go let me go a bit into exactly. He always says what you're all thinking, but you won't say. That's what I do. You know what I mean? So it may seem a little polarizing to some, and that's the truth. Your message is not for everyone. So don't get upset that you're putting content out and people are not liking. Arsenal fans, no matter what Man U does, they will never like a Man United post. It is the fact. They will not. They'll like it me, like a Man U or Chelsea post. The devil is a liar. But if Arsenal posts nonsense, even if it's nonsense, because it's for the right market, they will like it. Now, let me talk about the marketing thing. And I'm sure, I'm Gary Vee's twin brother, right? I'm sure that, FD has done an amazing, incredible job taking you guys through the last couple of days. And those who come after me will do the same. But let me say something that perhaps is a little bit different, okay? I am not of the school of thought, right? And I stand to be corrected. This is just me. And I think this is where all of us bring our experiences into this beautiful soup that FD is making to help you guys speak for gold. So for example, I don't think that the first thing you need to look for as a speaker is to look for the message and say, okay, what is my message? I know that information is out there and it has its merits. Don't get it twisted. It's not wrong. But for me, I have found that in being able to monetize your message, it is not about your message first. It is about your market first. I'm going to say that again. For me, in Steve Harris's experience, so doesn't make it gospel, doesn't make it a lie, just makes it my experience, that I have found that it's not about your message, it is first about your market. So because, let me give you an example. I mean, I've done the whole gamut, you know what I mean? I've spoken about purpose, I've spoken about potential, I've spoken about excellence, I've spoken about this, I've spoken about tons of stuff. But I found that what people were paying me for, because after I was speaking, and I was doing all these feel-good messages that people were, they liked, they resonated, but I didn't have a vehicle that they could pay me. right? I didn't have a vehicle that they could pay me. So give you an example. FD is teaching you guys how to speak for gold. There is a clear deliverable benefits from this program. As FD is speaking to you guys and he's training you guys, he's giving you guys clear deliverable benefits that you can take something from what you've learned and you can instantly use it to make money, right? So FD is not giving you a check you can't cash today. So let me give you an example. If you're speaking about purpose, which is great, or potential, which is fantastic, the only challenge is, at what point will I know I have reached my purpose? I don't know. At what point do I know that I have maximized or minimized my potential, as FD has taught me, right? At what point will I have gotten to that place where I've reached my purpose? I don't know, because purpose is like, it's like a moving target. It just keeps moving and moving. So it's a check that I can't cash today. I may cash it in the future, but I need something short term that people can pay me for. So if you think about it, a lot of what we're talking about are verbs. So a lot of our communications are action words. Speak for gold. Very simple. Speak for gold. Make money. Monetize your message is clear. Master the business of your talent is clear. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we're not telling you something that is, so to speak, highfalutin. We can tell you what it is immediately. So my point really is this, sweetheart, it is not about your message. It is about your market, right? So while I recognize that purpose and passion is great, I started looking and saying, you know what's calm? What are people really paying for? And with over 15 years experience as a management consultant who's been trained by FD, over 10 years experience in motivating people and blah, 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 I started realizing that a lot of entrepreneurs were making mistakes in their business, and I've been trained to help people with business. That's what FD taught me. Those are the things that I've learned. Those are the things I'm passionate about. So I realized that, you know what is the expertise that I have? Let me give you an example, and I'm sure FD may remember about this. A couple of years ago, I wasn't married then, so this is like maybe 13 years ago, 14 years ago, maybe it's about 14 years ago. So FD got this invitation to speak at a relationship seminar at a church. And it was for perhaps older women, as the case may be, people who had been married and blah, blah, blah. So I wasn't married, I was 27 at the time. And I went to represent FD. And so I'm speaking based on the things that I've learned, the experience I've had with FD, sharing and blah, blah, blah. And, I talked about relationships, and then at the end of my session, it was cool, it was amazing. I thought like I dropped the mic, everybody was happy. Then it was now time for Q&A, and some lady decided to ask me the first question, because I could tell from her body language, she was just waiting to get hold of the microphone. So she gets the microphone, and the first thing she says to me is, "Young man." Now, when somebody tells you young man, you know that you're already finished. So she says to me, "Young man, I have one question. Are you married?" I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not married yet." She said, "Okay, because I was listening to the things that you were saying, and they sound great. But you know what? Maybe when you've been married for 3 or 4 years, you can come back and give this your talk again, because a lot of what you're saying is just theory." And when she said that, it's almost like all the women, they're like, "It's true. Yes, it's true. He doesn't know. Da, 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 da." And all of a sudden, I could see my speech going down the toilet. And and thank God for the Holy Spirit who gives insights, because I was trying to figure out, what do I tell this woman? How do I take my power back in this thing? So I asked her, I said, "Ma'am, do you mind me asking you some questions?" She says, "I don't mind." I said, "Okay, great. Are you married?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Do you have children?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Did you give birth to them in the hospital or at home?" She said, "I went to the hospital." I said, "Okay, fantastic. Your doctor, the doctor that performed your procedure, was he male or female?" She said, "It was my gynecologist is a man." I said, okay, fantastic, great. So let me understand. You trusted a man who has no experience being pregnant to deliver your babies. Is that what you're telling me? She said, I said, no. I just want to be clear. You trusted a man who has no experience being pregnant to deliver your babies. She said, yes. I said, that means at the point of delivery, you were not looking for experience. You were looking for someone who had expertise in delivering babies. So you were not looking for someone who had experience being pregnant. You were looking for someone who had expertise delivering babies. And by that, I said to her, I have no experience being married, but I have expertise in building relationships. And that's why I'm standing on this stage. And when I said that, the whole, I dropped my mic, everywhere scattered, I got my point across. So my point really is, at the end of the day, you have expertise in something. It may not be sexy. It may not be cute. It may not be popular, but you have expertise in something. And your job is to find the market, all right? So, and this is why it's important that you need to find your market, or else you will give great value out. And listen, guys, we are all the same. All of us who are on this program are all the same. You love people. You have a message. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You're troubled by people's stress, and you wonder why they don't get it. You have the answers, but no one is asking you the question. So we're all alike, right? And this is why what FD is doing with Speak for Gold is absolutely fundamental. And I'm super glad that all of you signed up for this program. So let me give you a clear example. If not, you'll frustrate yourself. So please let me give you an example. So another message I'm incredibly passionate about is relationships, right? I even wrote a book about it. I wrote a book on relationships. It's called From Friend to Fiance. Check it out. From Friend to Fiance. How to get him to want you. Listen, how to get him to want you without letting him know that you want him to want you. Did you hear what I just said? Packaging is everything. How you say, because I could have written 7 keys to a successful relationship and they would give me my padlock and take my key. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. I wrote From Friend to Fiance, how to get him to want you without letting him know that you want him to want you. I have sold over 5,000 copies of this book, and I've not really marketed it, to be honest. At 2,000 Naira, that is 10 million Naira. Don't get it twisted, though. There's money in your message, but it has to be the right message. But let me continue. So so where can you buy this? I'll put the link is on my website. I'll give you the information. Right? And so off the buzz of this successful book, I started doing a series on Instagram called Love University, where I was teaching, somebody says simplicity of delivery, absolutely, where I was teaching single women how to position themselves for guys. And I know, listen, I'm not into a feminist. I'm not arguing pro-feminist or anti-feminist. The numbers just don't lie. There are more single women than guys who are ready to hook up. And I felt like I needed to help the women position, because unfortunately, good girls just don't know how to get good guys. And the bad guys know how to get good girls and bad guys. Bad girls know how to get good girls and bad guys. Good girls don't know how to get any guy. So I decided to take it upon myself to school women to the game and teach them, how do you position yourself? So FD has already said it. I'm a little out there. My messaging is different. The way I say it is different. I say it the way it's doing me. FD's laughing. I say it the way it's doing me. It may not always be kosher or the middle of the road. Me, I'm not the middle of the road. I'm on either side. I'm driving against traffic, right? I'm doing one way. So, and that is not pro-Nigeria behavior. But if you want to get noticed, sometimes you have to drive one way. Once somebody's driving one way, don't you notice them? It's the people that are following traffic that you don't want to know. And in this road, you cannot always follow traffic. But allow me to continue. So out of the buzz, I was now teaching women. And, so I like to say that, while the pastors are speaking to the 99 sheep that are, there. So, Jesus says that I go after the one that has got away. If I have 100 sheep and one gets away, I'm going to go after them. So the pastors are speaking to the 99 who are doing good. I want to speak to the one who seems to be doing bad. But these days, unfortunately, is now like the 99 are outside and then one is inside. So I'm trying to get the 99 back. So I'm talking to them about really practical things, how to flirt. I'm telling them, okay, so now you've had sex with him. How do you get him to come back? Because I know, yes, the pastor will say, don't have sex. I understand. That's the pastor's message. My message is, okay, now you've had sex, Abi. It was fine, Abi. It was good, Abi. Oh, yeah, now. How do you now get him to come back? Or what do you need to do after? And so that was the message that I was putting out there, helping ladies attract, develop themselves, but yet attract the right man. And it was This is like 3 years ago, guys. So Instagram really wasn't so hot. But then I was getting an average of maybe 800, 1,000 women watching me every time live on my Instagram, asking me hard questions, and I was always answering. And then long story short, I now decided, okay, since I have this tribe, I need to be able to bring that community to where I can control. So let me explain this to you. A lot of us are doing a lot of marketing on social media, and that's fantastic, but that's like building your house on rented land. Can I say that again? A lot of us are marketing on social media, which is fantastic. I mean, FD's verified, I'm verified on social media. We've got tons and tons of followers. Unfortunately, we cannot direct message all of them. We can't market to all of them or any of those things. We have to pay Facebook, who owns Instagram, to get our content to reach everyone, as the case may be. So organically, Instagram or Facebook reduces your reach so that you would pay. It's a business model, it works. So you have to now think about it. I want you guys to do this. You need to convert set a goal to have at least 5% of your social media audience in a community. Can I say that again? You've got to have at least 5% of your social media audience into a community, either Telegram, either Zoom, either whatever. It's a sales funnel. You guys know that, whatever, but you get my point. So set a goal, offer something for free that people can subscribe to, and then you can have them on your list, and then you can begin a marketing process. But let me move on because I want to answer questions. So long story short, I'm teaching Love University, and then I offer them a free ebook so they can join my community. Long story short, I have over 800 women in this community called Love University on Facebook. I'm teaching them. I'm going live. I'm answering their questions. I'm really being helpful. And to be honest, I'm being altruistic. I'm being helpful. I want to see these girls married and settled down and blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing all that stuff. And then one day it dawns on me that, listen, man, you've got almost 900 women on this list. They ask you so many questions and it becomes really tiresome answering questions that you've answered before. Why don't you just do maybe an audio of maybe 30 minutes answering the top 10 questions that these ladies have, so that, anyone who asks questions, they can just buy it. And besides, it's not much. How much is it? So long story short, guys, I put out this thing for sale. $5,000, $5K for an audio. It was maybe almost an hour, but $5,000. I want you to type in the comments, if you don't mind, how many people do you think paid for that audio? Remember, I have almost 900 women and I am Steve Harris. If you know what I'm saying, that means something, okay? So drop a comment. How many people do you think? Somebody says 700, 200, 5,000 out of, yep, 5, okay? All of them, 0, 800, 200, 100. All right, beautiful. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I hate to break it to you. Not one single person paid for that audio. 0, odo, I don't even, zilch, diddly squat, nada. Not one woman paid for that audio. And I don't know about you. I'm not gonna let bad children, really, really bad children. I was like, hello. You know how it says when you've put something for sale and you're refreshing the page and you're like, no, maybe it's network that they've not yet subscribed. I refreshed from morning till night FD. Not one person paid for that program. I was crushed. I was disappointed. I used a lot of, in my heart, I abused all those women. I was like, God, no wonder you people are single. God will punish all of you. I know, that's how I was feeling back then. That's how bad I felt. Like, after giving so much of myself for almost a year, you would think that the law of reciprocity will come in, but nobody bought. Do you know why they didn't buy? I'll tell you 2 reasons. Number one, I had trained my audience not to buy. I'm going to say that again. I had trained my audience not to buy. And we do that a lot. In giving, it's okay to give free content. No problem. Please give free. But also charge them. Whether they pay or not is not the issue. The issue is they know that there's something that they can buy. Right? So a lot, no husband. Someone says no husband for them. Right? You know what I'm saying? So the point really is you're training your audience not to buy. So you're putting free stuff. After a while, they will begin to struggle with you. And the moment you charge them, they'll start getting offended because they feel entitled. Number two, This is the reason that they didn't buy. Because after a while, if I shut down the group, I say I'm not doing it again, they'll say, Uncle Steve, we've not heard from you. I'll say, who's your uncle? I beg you. I won't answer them. It scarred me. It really pained me. It really hurts me. I'm telling you, to me, it pains me really, really bad. You know what I'm saying? So lastly, so now this is the reason I found that they didn't buy. I realized that I was not speaking to allow me to use this word, and I mean no disrespect if you're a lady, so please forgive me. I don't mean any disrespect. I wasn't speaking to a desperate audience. I wasn't speaking to a desperate single audience. I found that the average age of the women in that community was 25. Now at 25, many girls are in that place of Nadem de Russios. They have multiple options. They feel like this thing that you're talking about, being single, will never happen to me because Nadem de Russios. But no disrespect, after a while, when you get to a certain age, you become less discriminatory about the kind of man, because you now realize that maybe I was majoring on the minors or minoring on the majors. But my point was, in hindsight, I should have been speaking to a demographic that was older, probably in their late 30s to their early 40s, right? And if I had tailored my message to that audience, number one, has the disposable income to buy. Because guess what? If you're 35, 37 to 45, you already either have a good job or you have a good business. You know, you're not living with your parents, so you have some level of disposable income, right? That particular audience are, allow me to use the word, they're more desperate. So they're willing to try things. You know what I mean? So in not doing those two things, I realized that I had trained my audience to not to buy. And second, I wasn't speaking to people that really, really not just needed what I was offering, but could pay for what I was offering. And if you do that, that's how you're going to screw up monetizing your message.